The first thing he heard was the forest complaining. Leaves crackled, branches snapped, and something metallic hissed like a wounded robot trying to swear. He pushed aside a curtain of damp ferns and froze when he saw the crater, smoking, glowing faintly, and very much not on the park map. In the center of it lay someone who definitely hadn't come from the nearby hiking trail. She pushed herself up, long ears twitching like confused radar dishes, silver dust clinging to her hair. When she blinked at him, her pupils shifted shape, as if trying to decide which geometry was most appropriate for meeting a stranger. He stepped closer, hands raised, unsure whether she needed help or whether he was about to be vaporized for his curiosity. You okay?" he asked, in the gently terrified tone of someone addressing an unpredictable animal or a malfunctioning vending machine. She frowned at him like he was the one who'd fallen out of the sky. "Your gravity field is unnecessarily clingy," she declared, brushing dirt off her clothes. Her ears flicked again, adorably, annoyingly, and she pressed a glowing device to her forehead. It beeped twice, then made a noise suspiciously like laughter. "That can't be good," he said. "It is mocking me," she muttered. "It only does that when my vitals are irregular." She wobbled, and instinctively he reached out and grabbed her arm. Their skin touched. Everything exploded with light. Not the destructive kind. He was grateful for that. But thin silver threads burst around her wrist like tiny lightning vines curling toward him. Her eyes went wide, her ears shot upward, and her device let out a long, distressed whine. "Do not touch me," she yelped, stumbling back. "Your surface is causing internal system corruption." "My surface? Lady, it's called skin." She pointed accusingly at his hand. "It is unstable." "I moisturize," he protested. She scanned him again, waving the device so close to his face he had to lean back. The screen displayed a bright red warning, "Unknown anomaly detected." The device repeated it aloud in a robotic voice that sounded deeply unimpressed. She stared at him. "Explain yourself." "I wish I could," he said. "Usually, people only call me an anomaly metaphorically." Her ears folded halfway, as though reconsidering him. "Your species, you are human, correct? Bipedal, fragile, emotionally volatile. I mean, that's not wrong." She slowly approached, holding the device between them like a shield. "My biology is reacting to you in an unclassified manner. This should be impossible. Humans are not compatible." "Compatible in what way?" he asked, instantly regretting the question. She didn't answer. Instead, she poked his shoulder experimentally. The silver glow flickered again, more gently this time, like bioluminescent fireflies orbiting her fingers. She gasped and snatched her hand back. "There, it happened again, do you see? You're doing something to me." "Pretty sure you're the one glowing." "You're triggering it," she insisted. "This reaction, my species hasn't recorded anything like it in generations. Touch should not activate whatever this is." She paused and added, "Perhaps you are contaminated." "Well, thanks." The ground trembled beneath them as a fresh plume of smoke rose from her crashed ship. It let out a metallic scream, then collapsed inward with a theatrical hiss. She sighed dramatically, long ears drooping. "Wonderful. My vessel is experiencing emotional defeat." "Your ship has emotions." "Only the negative ones," she said. "It was built by pessimists." He couldn't help laughing, and for a moment her eyes softened. She seemed surprised by the sound, tilting her head like she was cataloging it. Then she straightened, adopting what she probably believed was an authoritative posture. "I require your assistance." "Because I touched you and broke your biology." "No," she said. "Because my legs are currently refusing to negotiate with gravity. And also because you seem moderately competent." "Moderately. Do not push your luck." He slipped an arm under hers again. This time she braced herself, ears lowered, and helped her stand. The silver threads flickered faintly but didn't flare. She watched the glow closely, muttering calculations under her breath, none of which made him feel any better. "So," he said carefully, "is this dangerous?" "For whom?" she asked. "That's not reassuring." "We will determine the cause," she declared, already limping toward the wreck. "And if the reaction continues when we touch, we will investigate further, scientifically." He followed her, trying not to stare at the way her ears bounced in irritated rhythm. "Great," Science. Love that, as long as it doesn't involve dissection. She glanced back with a suspiciously thoughtful expression. I will reconsider now that you have suggested it. Please don't. Their bickering carried them across the crater, the smoke curling around them in spiraling blue wisps. Somewhere overhead, something hummed, distant, artificial, searching. She stiffened at the sound, then grabbed his wrist with sudden urgency. The silver glow surged again, brighter than before. She stared at their touching hands, stunned. This effect, whatever it is, it's getting stronger. Maybe you're allergic to me. If I were allergic, I would be sneezing plasma. He blinked, and that's normal for your species. She lifted her chin proudly. We are very efficient sneezers. The hum in the sky grew louder, and she tightened her grip. We must move. Now, retrieval drones are coming. Are they friendly? He asked. No. Oh. Her fingers curled firmly around his as she pulled him away from the crater, glowing threads tracing delicate patterns between them like luminous vines refusing to break. She didn't seem to notice she was still holding his hand, but he did, and the glow definitely did. The forest swallowed them in shifting shadows and alien light as the first drone descended behind them. They didn't stop running until the trees grew tall enough to stitch the sky shut above them. The alien girl finally slowed, gasping in a very dignified, very irritated way, and released his hand as though remembering she hadn't intended to hold it in the first place. The silver glow faded, but faint traces still curled around her fingertips like stubborn sparks, refusing to admit the moment was over. She pressed 2 fingers to her temple and muttered a few sharp syllables that sounded like math arguing with itself. He leaned against a tree, catching his breath. So, retrieval drones. I'm guessing they're not here to offer you a ride home. She stiffened. They will scan the area for escaped biological signatures. If they find me, they will return me to my ship's command AI. It is strict. Strict as in, what? Grounding you, taking your phone. She gave him a flat look. It will deactivate my independence protocols. Oh, that's worse. Significantly. She turned in a slow circle, scanning the forest with a small disc-shaped device that chirped cheerfully despite the danger. Each chirp seemed to irritate her more. Her ears twitched, then twitched again, as if debating whether to detach and leave on their own. Your technology seems very lively, he said. It was designed by an overly optimistic engineer, she muttered. He believed machines should express themselves. He has since been fired for creating a blender that sings during emergencies. The device in her hand chirped louder as though offended. She tapped it sharply. Do not take his side. He watched the trees sway, noticing strange motes of blue drifting between the leaves, like fireflies with sci-fi ambitions. Are those coming from your crash? No, they're natural, she said. Earth is more interesting than our planetary briefings implied. She paused, ears lifting in cautious admiration. Less stable but interesting. A low hum swept through the air, vibrating the leaves. She froze, lifting her device. Drone sweep, they're close. He peered through the bushes but saw nothing yet. We should hide. We are already hiding, she whispered. Then we should hide better. She sighed at him, perhaps considering the unfair truth of this, then gestured toward a narrow ridge where fallen trees had created a tangled shelter. They ducked inside, crawling through branches until they found a hollow space that smelled like moss and old stories. He whispered, Think they'll detect us. Not if I disrupt their sensors. She pulled out a small cube and twisted it. The cube responded by unfolding into an overly complicated origami machine that began projecting a shimmering dome around them. This field masks biological signatures, mostly. Mostly. It sometimes erases the signatures of people we're not trying to hide, she admitted. There were complaints. Before he could ask whether he was at risk of being erased, the drone appeared overhead, sleek, silent, the shape of a metal stingray drifting through the trees. Its blue scanning beams swept the ground only a few meters from them. The alien girl held her breath. He tried to hold his but failed, earning himself a glare that suggested she expected better respiratory discipline. The beam passed over them and continued on, uninterested. Only when it faded into the sky did she relax, shoulders slumping. We need answers. The reaction when you touch me, it's intensifying. My readings have never behaved like this. My kind does not react to other species. We do not even react to each other unless required. Required, like for medical stuff. For bonding, she said, cheeks tightening as though the word tasted embarrassing. But even that was engineered out generations ago. Too distracting. Well, he said softly, seems like it's back. She avoided his eyes and examined her wrist, where faint silver light pulsed beneath her skin like a heartbeat that didn't belong to her. This is not logical. Most things that matter are. She blinked at him, puzzled. That sentence hurt my scientific sensibilities. I'm sure you'll recover. She looked like she wanted to argue, but instead she knelt and spread several devices across the ground. Small discs, glowing wires, a card-like screen that displayed diagrams shifting faster than his eyes could follow. I need to test something, she said, not looking at him. Oh boy. She extended a hand. Touch me. He choked. You could have worded that differently. It is for science. That doesn't make it less weird. She kept her hand out, expression serious but ears flicking in impatient rhythm. With a hesitant breath, he reached forward and rested his fingertips lightly against her palm. The reaction was immediate. A ripple of silver energy unfurled from her wrist, traveling up her arm like light racing through a glass river. Her pupils widened, pupils reshaping briefly into spirals before stabilizing. The air around them warmed, and the devices on the ground began flickering with frantic readings. She inhaled sharply. There, again, my neural pathways are this is. Her voice cracked into an entirely new register. He pulled back, startled. Are you okay? She stared at her hand as though it had betrayed her. This is not discomfort. It is not pain. It is unfamiliar. My chest feels buoyant. Buoyant. Like a gravitational shift, localized beneath my sternum. You mean fluttery? No, that is an undisciplined word. He grinned. Sounds like feelings. She recoiled dramatically. Impossible. My species removed emotional bonding centuries ago. It was considered inefficient. Is it feeling inefficient right now? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I need more data, she muttered, gathering her devices so quickly that one squeaked in alarm. We must examine my ship. The core database may have information on evolutionary responses that were intentionally forgotten. That sounds ominous. Everything about my species is ominous. He helped her stand, careful not to touch her again unless she asked, even though a faint part of him wondered what the next spark would feel like. She noticed his caution, ears lowering slightly without her realizing. We will return to the crash, she said, but we must be careful. The drones will patrol again. Then we stay close. Her eyes flickered to him, studying his face with scientific focus that edged on something else. Yes, she murmured. Close is effective. The silver glow pulsed faintly beneath her skin, as if agreeing. And together, they slipped back through the forest shadows toward the wreck that held the secrets she had never been meant to uncover. They reached the crash site just as dawn began to leak across the treetops, turning the smoke rising from the wreck into pale ribbons of gold. The ship lay slanted on its side like an exhausted creature that had given up on dignity. Panels hissed, vents sputtered, and a single antenna rotated aimlessly, emitting beeps that sounded like robotic sneezing. The alien girl approached it with a weary sort of fondness, touching the hull as though apologizing. The ship responded by groaning dramatically, as if it had suffered far more emotional damage than physical. He stayed close, not touching, but close enough to catch her if her legs negotiated poorly with gravity again. She noticed, glancing at him with a lift of her long ears that signaled something softer than irritation. The main database is in the central core, she said. If the retrieval drones have not accessed it yet, we might find the truth. And if they have, he asked. I will be in trouble, she said, and you will probably be politely disintegrated. Politely. We are a very courteous species. They ducked through a torn-open section of the hull, stepping into the dim interior. The ship hummed around them, lights flickering, damaged systems muttering to themselves in alien tones. He followed her through the corridor until they reached the central console, a floating circular device that pulsed faintly like a slow heartbeat. She placed her hands on it, and the interface bloomed with soft light. Symbols spiraled upward and her expression grew tense, then troubled, then unexpectedly sad. "I found it," she whispered. "An archived file, sealed. It predates our social reforms." "What does it say?" She hesitated, then activated the file. A projection unfolded, showing alien figures with long ears like hers, standing close in pairs. Their bodies glowed with the same silver energy he had seen when they touched. The projection cycled through scenes, bonding rituals, shared sensations, emotional reactions that clearly mirrored the ones she'd been struggling with. "My species," she said quietly, "was once deeply connected. Touch triggered neural synchrony between compatible individuals. It created instinctive trust and something more. But the council believed it made us irrational, unfocused. So they suppressed the gene, erased the records, and called it progress. And you still have it," he said, voice gentle. "It must be a mutation, a re-emergence." She looked at her glowing wrist as if seeing herself for the first time. "All this time, I thought something was wrong with me, but it is simply something forgotten resurfacing." He stepped closer, careful but steady. "Does it hurt?" "No," she said, meeting his eyes. The silver pulse beneath her skin brightened, slow and warm. "It stabilizes when you're near." She blinked rapidly. "Which is irritating. And also kind of nice," he offered. She made a flustered sound, like a science equation squeaking. "Possibly." Before she could say more, a metallic clang echoed through the corridor. The hum of drones grew louder, sharper, closer. She stiffened. "They found us." He instinctively reached for her hand. She stared at the gesture, hesitated, then took it. The glow flared instantly, rising up her arm like silver vines awakening. Their linked hands cast enough light to illuminate the whole chamber. "We have one chance," she said. "If I interface with the ship system, I can transmit a command override signal to the drones, but it requires stabilizing my neural pathways." She swallowed. "Your touch helps." "Well," he said, squeezing gently, "I'm right here." She pressed her free hand to the console. The ship responded with a cascade of light, and a surge of energy flowed through her. The silver glow climbed her neck, tracing delicate patterns along her skin. Her ears lifted, trembling slightly, and her voice wavered as she said, "Do not let go." "I wasn't planning to." The drones burst into the corridor, scanning beams slicing through the dim light. The ship's interface flared, reacting to her attempt to override it. She winced, struggling to maintain the connection, and he stepped closer, giving her all the stability he could. Her body steadied at once, light flowing in smoother waves. She exhaled, focusing. Almost there. A final surge pulsed through them both, and the drones jerked midair, lights flickering, then froze. Their scanning beams dimmed. One by one, they powered down and drifted to the floor like stunned metal feathers. She sagged, knees wavering. He caught her this time without hesitation. The glow slowly faded from her skin, settling back into a faint pulse. She leaned into him, exhausted but alive. "The override worked," she murmured. "The drones will not pursue. The command AI will stand down. So you're safe. For now." She looked at him with an expression that no longer tried to disguise anything. "But I will have to report this. My people must know what our evolution tried to restore." "And what about you?" he asked softly. "After everything." She tilted her head, long ears dipping. "I have changed. I do not know if I am supposed to feel attached, but I do." She paused, searching for accurate scientific vocabulary. "You have caused a persistent fondness anomaly." He laughed. She didn't. "But," she added, "I do not dislike it." He felt warmth spread through him, gentler than the silver glow, but just as real. "So what now?" She took a slow breath. "My ship can still fly with repairs. I must return home, but I will come back. My people need to understand this part of us, and I